Hey guys, welcome to the Check-In Podcast.
Action!
You ruined it. Welcome to the Check-In Podcast. Thank you for that. Joking. Hey guys, welcome to the Check-In Podcast, brought to you by the Awaken Nights Podcast Network. You are in for another special guest here on the show. We are blessed today to be joined by a great friend of mine, one of my all-time friends in ministry life, one of my best mates to talk all things youth ministry when I was in it, young adult ministry now. And just an all-around fun guy who I love catching up with every time we get to do it. So, it's beautiful. This is a bit different, this style of catching up, but we're just honoured today to be joined by Pastor Joel Mitchell from Celebration Church in Nowra. Can I say the great in Australia? Is that allowed? Nowra?
You can say whatever you want, can't you?
Good. It's my podcast, so I'm probably going to. Pastor Joel and Alex are great friends of Layla and I, and so we're just, we love getting to hang out with them. We've gone and spoken at some of their camps a number of times. We love their teams. We love their young people, their young adults, and it's going to be a good time today. So, Pastor Joel, why don't you introduce yourself? There'd be a few people listening and watching that maybe don't know who you are, what you do, how you get your beautiful genes. I don't know, to talk to the people.
Yes, I am Joel. So me and my wife Alex live on the south coast. Got two awesome little kids, Jeremiah and Ellie. Their Instagram accounts are very great.
Shout out.
Or Jeremiah to the max and Ellie to the lex. So there you go. There's their shout outs. And we are the youth and young adult pastors here at Celebration Church. Pastor Benoit and Charlie are our senior pastors. They've been our bosses for 3 years, and before that, they're Pastor Benoit's parents who were leading our church for 30 years. So we've been doing ministry and youth ministry since I was 15, which is coming up to 16 years, and then started young adults 2 years ago. So that's us. And my wife's a psychologist. She works for Headspace and a couple of other organizations, and we just like building the next generation. So, and I'm hilarious, so that's always good as well.
I agree. That's probably true. I would say you're hilarious. So, yeah.
Thank you.
I was trying to remember before we jumped on today. I don't even know when we met. Was it called Groundswell back then? The Youth Alive. Was it called Groundswell?
Yeah, it would have been. Yeah, Groundswell. I remember you gave the offering message, and I blew my whole wage in because it was so good. And took a loan out. Took a $5,000 loan out from a. Is that the dodgy person at the front of the church?
Is that the real reason you and Alex have just been able to get the dream house of yours? Is because of that one offering? Yeah, I thought. Yeah.
Yeah, we took a loan from a loan shark to give in your offering message. So I said I must meet this man. So
wow.
Good since then.
That would have been what? That would have been 2016, 17.
Oh yeah, 16. Yeah. I just wanted to make sure our friendship looked longer.
Oh, 2001. Yeah, 2001. I was 7, and you were. I don't know how old you were in 2001. Old.
13.
Yeah, wow.
Good year.
You could have been
right after the Sydney Olympics. Nikki Webster came on the scene, pretty popular. Strawberry Kisses. It was a good year.
Wow, we were both young, and we had no idea that Guy Sebastian was going to win Australian Idol in a couple of years' time. It just was, it was.
I knew.
Yeah. Wow, God told you. Prophetic word. Cool. What are we talking about? So we're on the podcast. We are going to talk about a few things with you today. Just some interesting things for leaders, pastors, anybody involved in ministry from anywhere across our country and the world that I think is going to bless a lot of people. I know from the listeners that have joined us on the podcast previously, there are a lot of leaders and pastors that are from smaller towns. So maybe they're not from Sydney or Melbourne or Brisbane or any of those places, Adelaide. Like, they're not from the major key cities of Australia. They're building ministries in regional towns, regional cities, which Wollongong falls into one of those categories, and Nowra on the South Coast is the same. And I know from your journey and yours and Alex's, you grew up on the South Coast and have such a heart for that area, and obviously are in ministry right there, right now. And so I guess I just wanted to talk about opening up on the podcast. In your opinion, what are some benefits of having ministry in smaller towns or cities? What are the challenges of it? What are some strategies you bring to it? Because I think there's some people that really need to hear some of the stuff that's going to help them. So, yeah, over to you.
Yeah, for sure. I think, firstly, our city is a major city and a capital city to us. So I think firstly, you've always just got to make sure you're loving your city. Like if you don't love your city, move. Like find another place to do ministry and build a church. Otherwise, I think you build something that's counter to the people that God's actually asked you to reach. I love living in the area that we do and reaching the youth and the young adults that me and Alex get to oversee. I think a benefit, well, even cities, like there's no one that's living in Sydney right now that's reaching 4 million people.
True.
So I think everyone probably has a smaller town. They probably just wear slightly nicer clothes than me. But they have a smaller area that they're reaching inside of their city. I guess a benefit of a region is that covers everyone. So we've got, I think, 100,000 across the Shoalhaven region, and we've got kind of 8 major schools that we get young people from, and they're all of our 8 schools. So I think it's just easier to kind of cover a whole city and kind of understand where you're actually reaching. Then you're not so focused on just that one young person bringing their 20 friends, but you're actually interested in their whole school. You're trying to reach that whole school, which then covers, a whole area. And I think it's just easier to cover everything than a big city when you're trying to chew off millions. Which I think is good.
Yeah, for sure. Then you obviously touched on there's some elements of youth ministry, which you guys have done for years. But obviously you mentioned earlier you guys have done young adults ministry for 2 years. Is that right? Two.
Yeah, 2 and a bit, I think now. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a similar time to Layla and I that have been doing it. And obviously one of the things that we find interesting in Wollongong, we get a lot of young adults probably from your area for university and stuff like that. And then obviously when they graduate, a lot of them do leave. And that's one of the struggles that we often have with young adults. For you guys, is that something you've ran into? Is it a struggle you've had? How do you counterbalance that? Do people leave the area a lot for work and uni and all that sort of stuff?
I think our youth ministry and young adults ministry is interesting in the fact that until 2 years ago, we didn't have young adults in our church at all. There was no connect groups for young adults. There was no ministry for young adults. If you're a young adult, you were on the youth team or you were just an adult. So when we first started young adults, it was interesting to watch a whole bunch of the whole demographic. We do 18 to 35, like we cover a pretty big reach. But who still has friends that are unchurched and who has sacrificed them all for Jesus? And then who is kind of between the age. We had 18 to 22-year-olds still had a whole bunch of non-Christian friends that we're still doing life with. So we kind of pulled and grew because of that, not because of anything else. So if people are moving in or out of the area, it wasn't really a big deal. We just had a really solid core of young adults already that were in ministry. And then once I flipped the switch in their heads to kind of be like, okay, stop just thinking about 14-year-olds, think about your friend, think about the 50 people you went to school with, and let's start to reach and fight for them as well as the next generation. So it hasn't mattered kind of who's moving in and out for us really. And kind of the guys that are core to us will travel for uni. They'll drive an hour to Wollongong, or we've got guys that are doing Hillsong College that'll travel 2 hours and then come back, do half week up there, half week back. So, which is definitely something, I mean, like I said, we've connected with you guys quite a bit and been down there, and I know a lot of your leaders and quite good friends with them. And that's probably one of the things that have stood out to me the most out of anything is that what you've just mentioned. You've got people in your community that will travel to go to your services or be on your leadership team or stay in the area or go and do things, which I think sometimes in ministry life, there can be this big bad of Hillsong College or this pull of going over to do something else, which you've done. Like you did Hillsong College, I know, and came back and served in the area you grew up in. I think that's something that you can speak on that you've already said, because you said having a heart and a love for your region or city is so crucial. So, are there any things that you guys do as a team or anything that you instill in your leadership regularly to your leaders to get them to carry that same heart for Nowra, Shoalhaven, the region, or is it just something that's kind of brought onto them from you guys? Yeah, I think from my youth pastor, who's now my senior pastor, Pastor Benai, we're just a very cultured leadership team. So we always just talk about why we do what we do. Like we're not coming to church because it's convenient and then there's another option, so we move away. we're doing this firstly for God, but then Pastor and I has really instilled in us just a shepherding heart. So if we've got a leader that's got like 10 people in their connect group or something, and then they feel like they're called to go to uni, to leave their sheep is a big deal to them.
Yeah, great.
So I think that's heavy on the heart of pastors all the time, but I think we've actually got a whole team that has that heart. They'll actually make decisions based off the welfare of sheep rather than off, you know, what they're bored with and where their heart is led to, and kind of just chasing some dream and forgetting that kind of the dream is to disciple people like Jesus did. So I think we've just imparted that really well with our kind of core team, and our leaders across the board know we're shepherding. We're not just looking after them because we've got nothing else to do and there's no other job offer. And that's our whole volunteer army. All of our interns have just got a bit of a heart to let's fight for people.
That's great. I will say now, we probably won't get into it on the podcast, but if you're listening and you want to learn about churches do an amazing job at internships specifically, get in contact with Pastor Joel. They do an incredible job. I've met. How many interns have you got this year? You've got a number of interns.
7, I think. 7, right?
Yeah, and that's probably around the number you've had for the last couple of years, right? Around that 7, and if not more.
Yeah, I think over the last 10 years we've had about 50.
Yeah,
45, 50 different interns with Pastor and with me that have kind of core in church and doing awesome.
Which is incredible. So, yeah, reach out to Pastor Joel. We'll connect his socials at the end if you want to reach out and have a chat to him about that. I want to move on to the second kind of talking point. You kind of mentioned it a little bit when you started talking about connect groups and all that stuff earlier. But I just want to kind of touch on that for both youth ministry and young adult ministry. I remember sitting in a Youth Alive. It was like when they came down to the Illawarra region and did a day of development. And we were sitting in there, and I was with you, and we were sitting next to each other. And they started talking about connect groups and how many people should be in connect groups and all that sort of stuff. And all of it was good teaching, and we loved it. But you kind of leaned over to me and said, there are times, something along the lines of, there's times in our ministry where we often have more people in our connect groups than we do on a Friday night, or we have more people coming to those smaller settings where they're getting relationship with their leader than we do at our big events. And I think that's something that really has characterized your youth ministry that I've seen, is that relational aspect of small groups. And obviously getting to know young adults a lot more lately, I've seen you guys have started all these incredible connect groups, and they're growing and expanding. And so maybe just touch into, why do you think connect groups are important? If someone's listening that doesn't have them in youth ministry or young adults, what would you say to that? And how can they start it? And how does it grow the ministries you run?
Yeah, I'll probably always touch on kind of what I've been discipled in with my senior pastor, Pastor Benoit, who we've always just said that connect groups or small groups, GTRs, RDGs, pugs, whatever, everyone calls them differently. Then we stopped calling them cell groups because that was a little bit terroristy. Connect sounded better, and then every different letter you can think of. They're the backbone of what we do. So if we take the backbone out of a body, it gets real floppy. So we've always just come back to, okay, who are our leaders really influencing, really discipling, really know their parents, or if they're youth, or, you know, their relationships, what's really work, their dreams, their highs and lows of the week. I think if it's down to just a few pastors on team doing that, I think we do the church an injustice, and we stop empowering them. So I think small groups is actually just equipping the church to do ministry better. Our small groups, I remember that meeting that you were talking about it, that we had talking about small groups and that. And the thing that we had in that is we had some connect groups at that time that were having like 50 people in a month attending their connect groups, and then we went through, you don't want to have a connect group over the size of 8, and we were like, what have we done? But kind of those, we've always put in systems so that 50 has, you know, groups of 10 and then groups of 5, and then one person they're talking with. So for me, this season, we've had seasons where our connect groups have gone really strong, and then we've had seasons that are even struggling. Even right now with our youth ministry, we're working really hard on making sure that our connect groups are strong, because in the midst of isolation and everything else, we've never been in an event youth ministry. Hey, young people don't like events. I don't like events. They're boring to me because they're a little bit predictable. But what is unpredictable is you sit with a young person and you hear how the week's been and what's really going on, and you get breakthrough. So I think our pastoral team has always just had a heart for the one. So then small groups are a lot better. That's right. Internship program blossoms.
Yeah,
Blossoms. Who says blossom?
Wow. I love that.
It just blossoms, baby. It just blossoms. But it goes really well just because it's 6, 7, 8 people sitting down with a leader or a pastor in this case, just getting discipled. And so small groups to us is everything. And the crowd listen to the sermons, but I think the disciples change the world. So
Great.
you've got a crowd that is listening or joining or viewing at the moment. That's cool. But do you have someone that'll fight for someone, that'll die for someone, that'll hear Jesus' voice for someone and really care about them? So, and I think if we grow people, then people then get grown and then they grow ministries. I think.
For sure.
A huge concern that we're working on right now in church is not when isolation is over, will new people walk through our doors. That's people will be more hungry for community than ever before. I'm not stressed about our youth ministry blowing up. What I'm concerned about is how big are our leaders and how big is our core right now. Are they growing internally so that when an outpouring happens, they've had some wrestles and some giants that have overcome in this season, so they're a little bit more secure. Because if we come back and they're still at that same level of depth, when God pours something out, where our community probably gathers and starts to gather around some things, and the church will be one of them, we won't be able to disciple them. So it all rises and falls on discipleship, I think, for us.
That's good. And I've seen this, and I know you know this, but for people listening, like I've seen it as a testament to your youth ministry and young adult ministry. I've seen, like, we've met young people at your camps and events that we've both been to, and I've seen them, and the love that they have and the relationship they have with their RDG leaders or their life group leaders or whatever it is actually so strong. And I think sometimes, these young people then have encounters with God and they get saved and they start a relationship with them, but you guys are allowing that to flourish because they've got such a strong relationship with their connect group leader who goes out of the way. And one of the things I've seen, your leaders go out of the way to do things for these kids, like pick them up, drop them off. It's not that, we've got to go do it again. It's like, I want to do it. So I think that flows out of that. Before we move on to the next question about high school ministry, can you just maybe just touch on briefly, I know in the last year or so, your young adult ministry has started community connects and all that sort of stuff, and doing, things based on interest and whatever it is. And we were actually at a young adult night you had where you launched that, and it was actually really awesome. And I loved every single thing you did. So can you maybe just touch on the effectiveness of that, what it is that you guys do, and how it's been going so far?
Yeah, for sure. I think the biggest thing ever with anything is working out what God has graced your ministry to do. So we launched a whole bunch of community connects. Some of them didn't even start. So we had ideas of different things, but then when our team defaulted to kind of what their grace was, we had a lot of people probably move away. So we had like a ladies yoga group that some guys went to. No, I'm joking, but ladies yoga group and gaming things and mothers groups. My wife ran a mothers group, and I think it's had 70 different unchurched people attended here on a Friday morning. Wow. So there's been things that have been really awesome over time, but we always seem to default to, let's get people in your house, let's do some more real life together and help people when they're down and out. So I think we've had success and failure in them, but whenever, even youth, we've run skate park barbecues. That's how we launched one of our campuses back in the day. So we do all these outreach things or community things, but our agenda is pretty clear. We just want to get to know people and meet people. We've had teams in the past that start a skate park outreach and have never skated before and go out and buy hundreds of dollars worth of skate equipment and then end up giving all their stuff away because they're absolutely terrible. So we really don't care necessarily a lot about the community things. And we're pretty clear that wherever we are, we just want to have a chat and see how you're going and what. And I think our team is really good from the top all the way down of really caring about the one. So some of our community connect stuff has, died before it's begun. Others have flourished and moved on and gone forward. But we're really not loyal to the system at all. I love failing, so I'm not afraid of being like, we tried 10 things and 11 things somehow failed. We kind of just keep on moving back to, okay, God's probably trying to show us something through it. Let's keep on moving forward. And if you've got a few things that are winning, you can fail at 100 things in the background and just make everyone focus on the good stuff.
Yeah, great. Yeah, for sure. Moving on to our last talking point in the podcast, I've chatted to you length in car trips we've had down when I've been with you guys, and different things about high school ministry. You guys have done stacks over the years. You've done youth ministry, and I think sometimes high school ministry is like that diamond in the rough that every youth pastor is like, if I could just get into that high school, then this would flourish and this would grow, and I'd be able to be the biggest youth in the region and whatever. And I think there's a struggle sometimes getting in. There's a struggle keeping the relationship once you're in. What do I do? How spiritual do I be? And maybe just give some brief advice that you've had over your experience on the effectiveness of it, what you guys have done, and where it stands now.
Yeah, for sure. I guess before that, for me, I don't want to do high school ministry. I want a team to be passionate about high school ministry. So
Right.
I've been youth pastor for, I can't remember how many years, I think 40, 50 years now. I think I have 50 years of
About right.
youth pastoring experience. But I haven't walked into a school to talk to a student in 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
But I have dozens of leaders that have, and I have young people fighting for their school. So I think the difference between us and a lot of youth pastors that I've kind of talked to is that they're just doing a lot of things. So if they don't go in the school, then no one's going to be reached. Where in contrast for us, I'm trying to equip our young leaders and our Connect leaders to have a passion for their Connect group school and their students ultimately to take responsibility for their own school. Because I went to school, I'm 30 now. God is not calling me to reach your school. He's calling me to empower you to reach your entire world. And that includes your school. So I think empower your whole team. Don't do it solo. Don't just get a job at a school and that's, you're the only connection point. But the things we've done in school, our best school we've had, which we've done in for 9 years now, we had to change a little bit, but now we've got back in. We just have full access to do mentorship in the playground. So we flourish most when you don't put us in a classroom and ask us questions about our testimony or get us to teach out some systematic theology. Like, we will flourish if we can go sit with the weirdest kid in the school or the craziest kid or the kid that's just been expelled or any normal kid, but just in relationship. So in this one school, we can just legitimately just walk through. We do it in a mentorship capacity, but we can talk about anything. We probably don't talk about Jesus because they're not interested. We'll start to talk about them and get connected and do life with them, and then conversations will naturally progress because we are flexing who God has called us to be anyway, just by being there. So we've done mentorship, we've done whole schools where we do all their scripture classes and share testimonies, high school things like the whole high school assemblies. We've had some pretty awesome opportunities. But more recently, like even in the last term, me and one of our guys, Betty Green, have just been going in to meet with principals to remind them of what our heart is, which is there anything in this school that we can do to help and support you?
Yeah, great.
Like we're not coming into your school to grow our youth ministry. We can do that without you. Our young people will grow our youth ministry. God will grow our youth ministry. We actually want to come in and be like, is there any needs in your school? Is there any place for us to fill? Is there anyone you're concerned about? Is there a culture in here? So we've just been we'll hit up all of our schools, especially now when we can get back soon. Just touching base with them. So I think that's a huge thing of school ministry. Don't go in being like, oh, if I can just get a microphone at an assembly and I can do a gospel message and burn every bridge that God has opened up for me and get every door closed. But to be like, okay, honestly, what do you need and how can we serve? Not to like butter them up to get your way, but to genuinely serve and genuinely help. Because I want to get principals saved. I don't just want to get their students saved. I want to get the whole teachers, weird bus drivers, anyone we can possibly get. So if we just come in with the heart of Jesus, then, or maybe not weird bus drivers, they can keep their weird bus drivers. We'll send them to Awaken, actually. We'll send them up to Awaken. We'll put all the bus drivers on a bus.
We've probably got a couple weird bus drivers, maybe. I don't know. We might. I'll have to investigate that after COVID, man. I might have a look at our weird bus driver Connect group pastoral care list on Alvanto and just check out how they
get them together.
Yeah, I might start a Connect group for them. That might be my new passion, my new heart that I have is the weird bus driver Connect.
You give off a weird bus driver vibe. So I think
I've heard that a bit, actually. So yeah. No, thanks for that. That's a prophecy. I'll take that on board.
You have to wax all your hair off, I think. It'll help with the vibe. If you remove all hair, and then you'll really have a weird bus driver vibe.
Yeah, and I've either got to lose 20 kilos or gain 50 kilos. There's no in between. You're either like tiny or ginormous and sweaty. But we won't. That's fine. We won't go there. Can I just say an encouragement too to anyone listening with what Pastor Joel said? That's the best way to go about high school ministry. Is exactly what he said. Go into, like, if you've got one high school you're keying in on and you're saying, hey, I want to go in there. That's the one closest to our church. I've got young people that go there. Just go have a meeting with the principal. Go meet with someone. If nothing comes out of it, nothing comes out of it. But if you go in there with a heart of we want to bless the school, not I want to grow the biggest youth ministry in the region so everyone likes me and I'm the most popular person, then odds are that you'll be blessed out of that and you'll be able to see that grow. So, yeah. So is there anything else you want to touch on high school ministry, or you're cool with
Yeah. I think as well, like just across everything to do with ministry, pastoring, leading, church, community, all of that stuff, I think just don't have a hidden agenda. I think one disservice Christians and church and leaders can often do, and I found myself doing this, if I have a hidden agenda and I move away from doing something out of love, pretty soon it becomes about me and what I can control and what I can do and what are our deal breakers and how we're going to help and what won't we do. And I think I try and encourage all of our team just to put their agenda right at the front. So if you're calling a young person to get them to come to a Friday night, don't act like you care about them.
Yeah, great. Yeah.
Just call them and make the phone call and leave. Don't be like, oh, hey, be genuinely caring. So not that we don't ask those questions, but we move our heart to actually making sure it's the main thing. Because I don't care if they're there on a Friday night, if their heart is far from God. Being in that room is not going to trick them into doing anything.
Yeah. Wow.
Some of those young people would need a phone call a lot more than they need to listen to me for 40 minutes and having no idea what I'm talking about. So I think we need to just make sure when we're doing anything for the church so we don't have like this hidden agenda in the back. Like we are doing this to see the world change. We're doing this to see young people saved. And I've never found it's worth hiding my agenda to act like I'm, even our mentorship stuff, our goal in our mentorship is to build genuine connection with them so that we can plug them into a healthier community that is eventually going to help them on their spiritual journey. And if a principal doesn't know that, and if they think that, I'm just being nice to kids, I think that's a lie. There's no other word for that. So I think just really clear agenda, really intentionality, and just the one criteria to be on my team, and it always has been, is you just got to be honest. If you're struggling, be honest. If you're doing this for the wrong motive, let's talk about it. Let's get it all out on the table, because I don't want to play no game. It's not very fun. Church games aren't too fun.
Yeah, great. I love that. Yeah, be honest, be open. Don't have a hidden agenda. I'll add to finish this question. Whatever you end up finding the area of this sort of outreach, high school, university ministry, whatever you do, if you're listening, can I just say be consistent with it? Anyone listening, we found I remember the first high school I ever went into when I started youth ministry, I was so keen, I was so on fire, had a meeting with the principal, I was ready to go, and I met there and I said, hey, we'll do whatever you want to do. I'm going to go on playground, I'm going to meet this, I'm going to run a Bible study. Like, I didn't want to do some of this stuff, but I said, do whatever you want. He turned around and he said to me, and obviously he knew we were from a Pentecostal church, and he said, we've had a really poor track record with Pentecostal churches. They come in for 3 weeks, they do their thing. When they don't get numbers to their youth events, they leave. And we have a number of amazing Anglican youth ministries in our region, and he said the Anglican youth ministry has been here for 15 years, every single Wednesday, because they're doing it not to grow the youth ministry, because they want to bless the school and bless the kids. And so for me, that was real tough, because I was kind of like, what was I actually doing it for? What was the motive? And then when we did do it, we went into it with a heart for the kids and for the young people. And yeah, so I'll just say be consistent with whoever's listening to whatever you find that you're graced to do. So yeah, cool. We're going to wrap up the podcast in a moment, but we're going to do some rapid fire questions. We're going to ask you some things to get to know you.
Oh my God.
We're going to fire it off. It's like Jeopardy. Not really. You're going to know the question. I'm going to learn the answer. You should be nervous because they're really hard hitting questions.
I'm so nervous.
Well, it's it's like when you get up. Wow, whoa! Shout out Taylor Lautner. You've got holding up a photo for those watching on the.
This is my youth baseball bat. This has many stories. This bat.
Is that so you can take out? Is that so you can take out future boyfriends of your daughter? you
No, I
like
trust
that?
my daughter. I'll raise her well. She'll be able to make her own decisions. I'm not an overbearing father that is
Wow.
manipulative towards his daughters over his sons.
Wow.
Whoa, what?
Oh, is that
How did I get happy so quick?
is that the new topic of the podcast? Parenthood.
I think so. Parenting and trusting females, I think, is a big deal. Yeah.
Great.
She'll have a batter of her own or not. It's really up to her. But this bat has protected me many Friday nights. It is not joking at all.
I've heard some stories. I've told some stories. I've told some of your stories. Not from.
Can I tell one?
Down. Yeah, you can tell one. You got time? Go for it.
One of my favourite nights is I was prepping because I'm a really good youth pastor, so I just get up on the altar and preach. Apart from that, I'm not even in the room. Green room for myself. But I was preparing a message and I heard outside, this is like 5 years ago maybe, outside of the boss's office I was sitting in, heard this yelling and screaming. I kind of looked outside the window and there was this little girl going just nuts, like crazy, screaming, and just like a whole group of people around her. She was just going insane. So I was like, okay, I walked out there and said, like, what's going on? I was like, you need to leave. Like, you need to come, we're at a big property. You need to come down to our gate. I'm going to deal with it there with some of our like security and other leaders. She's like, I'm not afraid of you. I was like, why is she saying that? She's like this tall on me. It's like, why is she saying that? She's like, I'm not afraid. And so I like swearing a little bit. And I was like, no, you need to leave. And no one was really helping me. I think my team was a bit shook at her. She was like pulling her hair and stuff. It was crazy.
Wow.
And then she swung and punched me in the head. And I was like, what is happening right now? And I look across and one of my leaders is looking at me. He's like, look down, look down. And because I was in the office, I was just playing with my baseball bat in the office and I came out holding it in my hand. So this little girl has this adult man walk over to her with a baseball bat in his hand, no idea, being like, you need to leave. And she fully thinks I'm about to baseball bat her. So I quickly palmed the baseball bat off and walked her down at the gate, and the rest is history. She's great at always welcome our youth ministry. She's probably an adult now, so she's welcome at church.
Did you ever see her again? Did you ever see her again?
Intimidated with my bat without knowing.
Did you ever see her, that girl again?
We did. 2 weeks later, this is another great one. We're in praise and worship. Nights aren't always crazy, but we reach people, so sometimes they are.
They're pretty wild.
But praise and worship team was loving it. The room was so vocal, but all the lights were shining in their eyes, and they didn't know that over on the left-hand side, a fight was happening, and this same girl was fighting another girl in praise, like punching her. So the same guy that saw the baseball bat had to pick this girl up and walk her out, and he went over to we've got these doors with the safety push things, and he went over to it, and just as he was going to open that door, like holding her, he fell. So he hit this door and like dropped her out on the ground.
Oh, no way.
And then all of our security that are out there filled out incident reports being like, this guy threw the girl through the doors, but he tripped over. So she was an awesome young girl. She had some breakthroughs at different points, but sometimes we're reaching people that need us to be reached, and our youth ministry is always good at loving them as well and making sure they've got time, not just for the church kids that can get us in trouble with church parents, but every young person matters. They all genuinely matter. And to be honest, the crazier ones are funner anyway. So
yeah. And you and I know from knowing even your youth team and people that you've interacted with, like you've got some crazy testimony stories of people that have come through your door and are now like some of the most dedicated youth leaders I've ever met in my life because of that relationship you've built with them over the years. So yeah, it's crazy. But they're awesome stories.
We've still got like rules, and like if something's going wrong, like we've spent years if we have to send a kid home, or send a kid out of a service, but we always try and sit with them afterwards and let them know they're loved. And pretty soon they open up about their parent that's in prison or someone's on ice or just really horrendous situations. You're like, no wonder you don't want to sit through my little service, and listen to the offering message. Your whole world's falling apart and you just feel like you're in another school classroom. But then those genuine connections open their heart up to God, and then suddenly you find yourself praying for some kid and they're getting saved in a car trip on the way home, or like our leaders do awesome jobs. There's always kind of a flow of just different salvations that happen on the drive home. Like these leaders would be like, what was really going on tonight? And so we have crazy kids, but we have leaders that love reaching them. So
I love that.
And I'm a crazy kid, so no offense to being crazy, it's good.
True. You are. On a scale of 1 to Rocky Balboa punching Ivan Drago, how hard was the little girl's punch to the face?
Probably a 4. I've had a worse one. on a Friday night, which was probably a 9. It was my first night of being the youth pastor, and we're doing a This Is Your Life about old youth pastor, and a guy fully punched me in the mouth, so I had to do this whole interview with Pastor Benai with blood in my mouth. But youth ministry has calmed in the last 5 or 6 years. It started pretty crazy, but our team seems to have been helping. So his was worse.
Okay, that's good to know. A 4's okay. We can handle a 4. Cool. We got some rapid fire questions. We're going to ask them for you. You can answer them whichever way you want to, and then we'll say goodbye and thank you and all those kinds of things. Number one, first question I have is, we're obviously in isolation. We are locked inside. I don't want to get too much into it. You can add to it if you want, or you can not add to it. You were inside for a number of days, locked inside. COVID-19 shout out. So in this time of isolation, what are you currently reading? If you're reading anything, what are you listening to? What are you doing to grow yourself or enhance your time? Yeah, over to you.
Okay, let's let the cat out of the bag. I had coronavirus.
Whoa, really?
I was with a carload of boys, and one of them, I think, licked a bat or something. He hadn't gone overseas, but he definitely had it, and we all tested positive. So yes, I was locked in my room for 14 days away from my wife and children. I didn't see them the entire time. They left food at the door. I washed my clothes in our ensuite shower. It was full prison style. And I know about prison. So it was quite the experience. So what am I reading? What am I listening to? Myself. I love listening to my own sermons back. I learn a lot from me because I preach normally to what I'm actually really needing to hear. I really ignore the room and just speak to myself. So like, don't give up, Joel. You can do this. Come on, man. Keep your head above water.
Everyone's like, what?
Yeah. I actually say my name as well. I just talk to myself for a straight half an hour. Listening to, I think there was another question that you said we're going to talk about as well, like the sermons or things that I listen to. I'm a bit of a weird dude in the fact that I find myself, I really don't listen. I preach a lot, but don't listen to a lot of sermons. I've found over the years that it changed my voice. Like it changed kind of what I was passionate about, and I found myself following trends rather than following what God was saying for our season. Right. So I find myself like, I'll more read books, and even look at people in different industries that excel, rather than just looking at the ones that excel inside of, communication or leadership stuff. But I'll look inside of, I'll watch comedians and probably get more about how to lead a room than how to do anything else on a video. So there's some guys that I've listened to over the years, but I find myself more now, reading commentaries and listening to my senior pastors and the rest of our pastoral team around. And I'll let my friends preach to me one-on-one rather than too many sermons. But everyone's been checking out everyone's services right now, just checking in and critiquing them to make themselves feel better and all that stuff. So my answer is like stand-up comedy, man. Like that's what I've been studying right now.
I've actually heard there are preachers that do it. I've heard, like, I have a couple of friends that I know that watch a bunch of comedians to learn. One of the things that's interesting with comedians is that a comedian can take a joke from the start of its set to the end of its set, and they don't mention it, but it comes back up at the end, and everyone knows like what they're doing. So yeah, watch comedians. Kevin Hart, shout out, come on the podcast. I'll skip the second question.
Chad Veach who? Am I right?
Who?
Chad Veach who?
Yeah,
I don't know that guy is.
Chad Veach. We need Kevin Hart.
I just wear glasses, so I'm relevant to the whole broader community.
You don't even need glasses, do you? You just wear them for...
I take it off and my eyes are like, nah, I'm just joking. That's cool. Last one.
We'll skip second question because you kind of mentioned it. The third question I want to ask is, once we get out of this, what's your top travel destination? Where do you want to go? What are you dreaming about traveling to? Yeah.
China, bro. Like, I want to see what this COVID-19 was about. I want to head there. I want to see the bats. I want to get amongst it. I don't know. We just built our new house. So at the moment, I love staying at home because finally we have a house that doesn't have holes in the floor or something, or less cockroaches. So we built a whole new house, and we moved in. We moved in 3 days before I went into isolation. So it was a really great move, and so we're in full isolation in the nice new house. We just love the US. We love going back to America.
Yeah, great.
So every time we've gone there twice in the last kind of like 5-6 years, I think. Can't remember, with the kids who are 2 and 4 now. But we just go to like 7 different cities in 3 weeks. I can't stay anywhere longer than 3 days without being bored. If your city can't entertain me in 3 days, it won't do it in 10 days. New York, come on.
Wow.
So probably just the US again, I think, and get the kids among some American culture so they get an accent and,
Good.
you know.
More relevant.
They say Australia is 3 years behind America. So if I can get them there, man, they'll be ahead of culture and they'll be great.
What a smart dad. Do you have any cities in the US you haven't been to that are like your number one? I got to go here. Is there anywhere that you haven't?
Miami. I give off a Miami vibe, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
So we've done east and west, up and down. But actually, we only went to like New York and Chicago on the way back. So we haven't done Boston or Philly or those kind of places. So maybe over that side, and then maybe up to Canada, the north of America. I just call it North America. All the Canadians love being compared to America. So I don't know, everywhere again.
Yeah, great.
I just want to eat food. We just go to places with man versus food has been and just try and put on as much weight as we can in 3 weeks.
Yeah, burgers and pizza. On that note of food, last question. Any coffee or food shout out you want to give in your area, in Nowra? Besides Celebration Church Coffee Cut at the front with Jade Green making the coffee, big shout out. Other than that, do you have anyone else you want to shout out? Any other venues?
I think, firstly, our coffee is amazing. It's unusually amazing. And I don't understand because we've got like way too many baristas that, you know, like every church that has anyone that's did a Bachelor of Arts probably has a whole bunch of baristas in their church that finished uni and then went off and did baristering. Yeah, got their uni debt and making coffee. I just think Gloria Jean's coffee is amazing. I think the syrups that they do are so tasty. I think the whipped cream's so nice. All of the scones and baked goods are perfectly refrigerated and reheated. So I think any city, like if you can just find a good GJ's or Michelle's Patisserie, you're pretty set. So apart from that, there's a place, you know what it's called. What's the place that's like the top coffee place in our area?
Yeah. Huh? Hyper. Yeah.
That's where we get our beans from. So there's that place. They only do cash. They make you sit on a rock or something. I went there once.
I will put that out. Hyper is my dad's favorite coffee in Australia. So that's a shout out to Nowra.
Has he been to Gloria Jean's? It's quite nice there.
The Gloria Jean's in the mall in Nowra. Shout out Sanity. Do you guys still have Sanity in the mall?
There is still a Sanity. It is open right now. It's an essential service.
Wow.
Who is buying DVDs and CDs?
Not from Sanity, they're not. They're going to JB Hi-Fi.
So that's what it's about. Yeah. And Five Little Pigs. Come to Huskisson. Have 5 Little Pigs. Nice beach. The South Coast has the widest sand in the world. So Himes Beach, that area, come and eat some food and hang out with, not me, I'm busy that day, but come and just be a part and come say hi.
Yeah. No, it's good. Well, it's been an honour. We've appreciated you coming on and chatting about. I think this is actually going to bless a lot of people, people that are growing in their youth ministry, young adult ministry, connect groups, high school ministry. We've talked about a lot. Is there anything you want to say to end the podcast, wrap up, talk to the people?
I'm just joking. I was joking this whole time.
Yeah, gotcha.
I'm not even a pastor, and I legitimately don't even know how I got in this Zoom. So it's astonishing to me. No, I think my big thing is just wherever you are, whatever you're doing, as a youth pastor, a young adults pastor, or anything, I think just genuinely from the inside out love the people that God's called you to minister to and genuinely care for them. That's what Pastor Ryan and Charlie, my pastors, have kind of instilled in me over a bunch of years. So I think if you do that, you don't really need to be worried about getting more, because the people that you're leading and discipling, you're growing anyway, and that's a reward in itself. So just love people, bro.
Great advice. Thank you so much. We appreciate you, Pastor Joel. Thanks
for having me.
Yeah, we love you guys. Send our love to your team, to Alex, to the kids, and hopefully when this is all over, we'll come and check out the new house. And not every listener, just me. Not every listener coming over to your house.
I'll send the love to the team. They're just here.
Yeah, cool.
Love team love. Done.
Team love, all love team. Thanks, guys. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Thanks for the baseball bat stories. We'll catch you next time. Have a great week, and remember, enjoy the night. Catch you next time.